Can you be charged with murder without a body? Murder conviction without a body. No corpse, question mark, no problem. Notable murder convictions without a body, -A&E true crime.
This case is one of the most shocking and unraveling in real time. A missing mom, Anna Walshe, a husband with an ever-changing story, and CCTV footage that prosecutors say shows him secretly disposing of potential evidence in the dead of night. Then things explode in court when Anna's alleged lover takes the stand, revealing a hidden relationship, and suddenly the puzzle pieces start locking into place. But nothing hits harder than Brian's own internet searches. Searches made before Anna ever disappeared, and once you hear them, you'll understand why this case has stunned everyone following it. Anna was born in Serbia, and in 2005 she made a huge move to the United States to start a new life. When she first arrived, she worked in the hospitality industry. Long hours, intense work, but she was determined. While working at a hotel in Massachusetts, she met a man named Brian Walshe. The two fell in love, got married in 2016, and went on to have 3 sons. Today they're around 4, 6, and 8 years old. From the outside, it looked like a picture-perfect life. A growing family, a loving marriage, and a bright future. And Anna thrived. A few years later, she climbed the ladder and became a general manager at a major real estate company. That job had her splitting her time between Massachusetts and Washington, D.C., where the company was headquartered. She even had a townhouse in D.C. for when she traveled. So here she was, raising 3 boys, running a massive office, and managing life between 2 states. She was doing it all. But Brian, he was not. In 2021, Brian pleaded guilty in federal court to 3 counts of fraud, specifically for selling counterfeit Andy Warhol paintings. It sounds like something out of a movie, but it was very real. Because of that case, Brian was stuck at home on house arrest, awaiting sentencing while Anna continued holding their entire world together. Fast forward to New Year's Eve, 2022. Anna and Brian had a quiet night in with a friend. No drama, no signs of trouble. Everything looked normal in the Walshe home. But 4 days later, on January 4th, everything changed. Anna's boss and Brian both reported her missing. Brian told police that Anna left for the airport early that morning, taking a rideshare to catch a flight back to D.C. for work. But when investigators started digging, the story immediately fell apart. There was no rideshare record, no Uber, no Lyft, nothing, and there was no flight booked in her name. What investigators did find was surveillance footage of Brian at a Home Depot on the exact morning he claimed Anna left, and he wasn't buying a screwdriver or some paint. He was buying $450 worth of cleaning supplies, mops, buckets, tarps, cleaning chemicals, the works. The timing alone raised every red flag imaginable. With his story collapsing and evidence pointing in a very concerning direction, police arrested Brian on January 8th for misleading investigators, and that moment marked the start of a case that shocked the country and left everyone asking what really happened to Anna Walshe. Once investigators realized the flight story didn't check out, things escalated fast. When they searched the Walshe family home, they discovered a bloody knife, and when they seized the family's electronics, they uncovered a set of shocking Google searches, the kind that instantly change a missing person case into something far more sinister. And yes, the Google searches. They have become the focal point of this case for years, and I'll break down exactly what they were in just a moment. But here's where the timeline stands. About 3 weeks after Anna disappeared, by January 8th, 2023, and Brian Walshe was officially charged with murder and improperly moving a body, on top of the original charge of misleading investigators. Brian pleaded not guilty. To this day, Anna's body has never been found, and that's a massive complication for the prosecution, because no body means no confirmed cause of death, no definitive time of death, no documented manner of death. These gaps give the defense room to push reasonable doubt. Now, plenty of no-body cases have resulted in convictions, but it always makes the process harder. And of course, the longer Anna remained missing, the more people began asking, if there's no body, could she have left on her own? Is she actually gone? Some even labeled it another Gone Girl situation, a comparison that gets thrown around far too quickly whenever a woman goes missing. Speculation grew because Anna allegedly had plans to leave Brian, and there were signs she might have been pursuing a new relationship. That gave fuel to theories that she walked away voluntarily. Still, none of those theories explain the searches, the bloody knife, or the inconsistencies in Brian's story. As the years passed and the case moved toward trial, everything shifted again. Right before jury selection, on November 18, 2025, Brian unexpectedly changed his plea on 2 of the lesser charges. He admitted he was guilty of misleading police, and he admitted he improperly moved Anna's body. That admission is huge because it confirms one thing no one could prove without him saying it. According to Brian's own plea, Anna did die, and he handled her body. No matter what happens at trial on the murder charge, those 2 admissions alone guarantee he will face consequences. So that admission from Brian that he did move Anna's body doesn't just poke holes in the she ran away theory. It completely destroys it. It also signals something important. He's beginning to accept some responsibility. But here's the problem. Admitting to improperly moving a body is nowhere near the same as admitting to murder. And in so many cases, people who plead guilty to concealing or moving a body end up serving very little time. It's nothing compared to what someone would face if they were convicted of taking a life. So yes, Brian's plea guarantees some punishment, but it also creates a very complicated legal landscape, because while he accepted guilt on those 2 lesser charges, he absolutely dug his heels in on the biggest one. He continues to insist he is not guilty of murder. And that brings us to the first week of December 2025, when Brian Walshe's murder trial officially began. From the very start, prosecutors came out swinging. In their opening statements, they laid out the evidence they planned to present. Yes, a lot of it is circumstantial, but it paints an incredibly vivid picture of what may have happened to Anna. They walked the jury through Brian's now infamous trip to Home Depot, not only buying hundreds of dollars worth of cleaning supplies, but also a hatchet and a hacksaw. Items you don't just casually pick up days after your wife mysteriously disappears. Then prosecutors showed surveillance footage of Brian tossing multiple trash bags into a dumpster shortly after Anna went missing. And when investigators searched bags found near his mother's home, they uncovered weapons, Anna's shoes, and her COVID vaccination card. So now the evidence wasn't just, he bought suspicious items. It was, he bought suspicious items, then disposed of items tied directly to Anna. And that's when the prosecution shifted into motive. According to them, Brian had 3 separate reasons to want Anna gone, and each one alone could have been enough. Motive number 1. Money. Anna had millions in life insurance policies. Brian was the sole beneficiary, and this matters because Brian owed a huge amount of money due to his art fraud case. He was on house arrest, unemployed, and financially spiraling. Meanwhile, Anna was the breadwinner. If she died, he stood to receive everything. Motive number 2. The affair. For the first time publicly, officially in court, prosecutors revealed that Anna was allegedly having an affair with a man in Washington, D.C., the same man who sold her that townhouse. Jealousy, control, anger. It adds another layer. Motive number 3. Divorce plus losing the kids. Prosecutors say Anna was preparing to move to Washington, D.C. full-time, with the couple's sons, and leave Brian behind altogether. So, in one scenario, he loses the marriage, the money, and the kids. When you look at all 3 motives together, financial desperation, infidelity, and a looming separation, it becomes a powerful combination. Each motive stands on its own, but stacked together, they form an explosive catalyst. The defense's opening statement shocked almost everyone. They didn't argue that Anna ran away. They couldn't. Not after Brian admitted he disposed of her body. They also did not suggest that Anna died by her own hand, which many people expected them to lean toward as a panic-based defense. They didn't claim she left voluntarily, and they didn't blame an unknown intruder or some mysterious attacker who slipped in at night. All of those classic defenses? Not used. Instead, the defense went in an entirely different direction, one that no one saw coming. Instead, they delivered an opening statement that left the courtroom stunned. According to the defense, after the quiet New Year's Eve dinner with their friend, Brian came to bed, nudged Anna, and that nudge caused her to fall off the bed so hard that she died from her injuries. They called it a sudden and unexplained death. People fall off beds all the time. Kids fall off beds. Adults fall off beds. I don't know a single person who has died from rolling or slipping off a mattress, so for the defense to claim that this minor jostle caused fatal injuries, but that's their story. They say Brian panicked, terrified of being blamed, terrified of going to jail, and that he tried to cover everything up to protect his kids. That's the explanation they're running with for the lies, the disposal, the Home Depot trip, All of it. And the real shocker? The defense told the jury they would hear all about this story, which has everyone asking the same question. Is Brian actually going to take the stand? Because the only person who can tell that story firsthand is him. Having a defendant testify in a high-profile murder case is incredibly rare. It's risky. It's unpredictable. It's often a last-resort Hail Mary. But the evidence is stacked so heavily against Brian that maybe a Hail Mary is all he has left. So after that explosive set of opening statements, the prosecution called their very first witness, Sergeant Harrison Schmidt, the lead investigator. Schmidt testified that several of his early interviews with Brian were strange. Brian insisted Anna had flown to Washington, D.C. for a work emergency. He claimed she left wearing a dress, a black jacket, hunter boots, and carrying her Prada bag. He said he loved her. He said he would never hurt her. He downplayed their financial issues, while also revealing he was frustrated about how little time she spent at home. So already, you can sense resentment simmering beneath the surface. But here's where the interview gets even more interesting, because sitting in that room, alongside Sergeant Schmidt, was another state trooper, Michael Proctor. And if you followed the Karen Reed case, you know exactly why that name sets off alarm bells. Proctor was the lead investigator in the Karen Reed case, and he was later exposed for sending disgusting, vulgar texts about Karen throughout the investigation. Texts that showed bias, misconduct, and a complete lack of professionalism. That exposure helped convince the Karen Reed jury she wasn't guilty. And ultimately, it got Proctor fired. So the fact that he was also involved in Anna's case? Yeah, red flags everywhere. But this case is completely different because the defense isn't accusing the police of corruption the way everyone expected after the Karen Reed trial. Next, the prosecution called Trooper Nick Garino, another familiar name from the Karen Reed trial and the Sandra Birchmore case. Garino is the phone data expert, and he explained the Google searches found on devices in the Walshe home.
Best ways to dispose of a body - Google search. 10 ways to dispose of a body if you really need to. How long before a body starts to smell? How long for someone to be missing to inheritance? Article 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to, page 7. How long for someone to be missing to be dead? Title is How long does DNA last, which is a Google search. Is it possible to clean DNA off a knife? ? Can identification be made on partial human remains? How to dispose of a cell phone? Google search. I am a user of my wife's credit card. She is missing. Can I still use the card? Google search. My wife is missing. What should I do? Yeah, title is Your Spouse is Missing and You Want a Divorce / Hello Divorce. 6 ways to dispose of body parts after murder. 6 ways to dispose of a body - murder.
A rumor had circulated that Brian made those searches on the kids' iPads, adding a creepy twist. In court, we learned that was false. The searches were made on Brian's own computer, but synced to the child's device through his account. Still awful, just not as sinister as originally thought. Even if you're panicking and searching for ways to cover up an accidental fall, that still doesn't explain why the word murder appears over and over. Best way to dispose of body parts after murder? January 2nd. How long do stores keep security footage? How to dismember a body. Hacksaw best tool to dismember a body. Details of dismemberment in murder trial. Can you be charged with murder without a body? No corpse, no problem. Notable convictions without a body. Can you identify a body with broken teeth? Disposing of a body in the trash. One search that really stuck out was, can you identify a body with partially broken teeth? That immediately makes you think he may have been trying to remove her teeth, maybe didn't get the roots out, and wanted to know if that would still allow investigators to identify her. Then on January 3rd, Brian searched, can baking soda make a dead body smell good? Cleaning up blood without leaving a trace. 5 tips. How long for a dismembered body to decompose? You could not script something more incriminating. This is basically a masterclass in what not to Google if you don't want people to suspect you of murder. The prosecution may not have a body, but these searches are the digital equivalent. It's like a giant neon sign flashing guilty. especially when you remember the defense's whole argument. Anna died suddenly from an unexplained medical event, and Brian panicked. Okay, so then why wasn't he searching? Accidental fall. Do falls cause death? Emergency number. CPR instructions. Instead, we have murder, murder, murder typed out 3 separate times. That's not panic, that's intent. The defense tried to argue that the word murder only appeared because the search engine suggested it to him. Next, Trooper Garino read some of Brian's earlier searches, ones made before Anna disappeared, and honestly, they reveal a lot about possible motive. On December 26th, the day after Christmas and 5 days before the New Year's Eve dinner, Brian went on an adult site and searched. Cheating wife seduces another man to impregnate her. He also searched best state to divorce for a man. Washington, D.C. Divorce lawyers. Which shows divorce was definitely on his mind. Either he was planning to divorce Anna, or he believed she was going to divorce him, and he was trying to get ahead of it. And because he lived in Massachusetts and she worked in D.C., the search for Washington, D.C. divorce lawyers is interesting. Some people in high-profile divorces will intentionally contact multiple attorneys in their spouse's area because once a lawyer has spoken to you, they're legally prevented from representing the other spouse. It's a strategy people actually use, so seeing Brian look up D.C. lawyers, it makes you wonder what he was preparing for, or trying to prevent. But according to the defense, the divorce wasn't hostile at all. They say it was going to be a mutual strategy to protect their assets because Brian owed so much money from the art fraud case. They even tried to support that idea by pointing out that Brian was searching for expensive rings and luxury cars around the same time he was looking up divorce lawyers. Their argument was, he wouldn't be looking at luxury gifts if he planned to divorce her. But a different thought is, more likely it looks like someone expecting to suddenly come into a lot of money, and we know Brian has a long history of chasing cash, given the counterfeit Andy Warhol scheme. After all of those wild search histories, the next witnesses were from Uber and Lyft. Both companies confirmed that Anna never ordered a ride to the airport, not between January 1st and January 8th, 2023. So that whole "she left for DC suddenly" story? Completely unsupported, but it also doesn't matter because he admitted to moving the body. Another witness testified about Anna's life insurance policies. She had 2, totaling over $1 million, and guess who the sole beneficiary was? Brian. We already knew about the policies, but here's what we didn't know. Originally, Brian wanted to take out a policy on himself, but because of his federal art fraud conviction, the insurer denied him, and it was reportedly Brian who then suggested taking out the policy under Anna's name instead. On top of that, Anna had to go through extensive medical testing to qualify, and she received the highest possible health rating, literally the healthiest category you can be in, which raises the question, can someone in peak health just drop dead from an unexplained medical event caused by falling off a bed? Next, we heard from Davis Gould at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab. He examined Brian's car on January 9th and found red stains on both front visors, red stains on the driver's side controls, red stains on the trunk mats. All of those stains tested positive for blood. He also found more than a dozen exam-style latex gloves inside the vehicle. And Davis wasn't only responsible for processing the car. Shortly after analyzing Brian's car, Davis was also called out to a recycling plant, and what he found there was devastating. Prosecutors say the items discovered were Anna's belongings, her green boots, her jacket, and her black Prada handbag. Investigators also found towels, tape, gauze, a robe, and slippers, all soaked in reddish-brown stains. And if that's not horrifying enough, they uncovered a hammer, wire cutters, a hatchet, a hacksaw, and a tarp. Basically, an entire dismemberment starter kit. And the worst part, Davis and his team recovered what appeared to be hair, human tissue, and skin. Just think about that. If all of this is true, then Brian didn't just murder his wife, he dismembered her, then threw her belongings and pieces of her body into the trash at a recycling facility as if they meant nothing. It's chilling. And it raises a terrifying question. Where did he do this? In their family home, while the kids were upstairs asleep, or at school coming back later to a house where something unthinkable had happened. Then came another bombshell. William Fasto took the stand. This is the man Anna was allegedly having an affair with. He admitted that after selling her that townhouse in D.C., they became extremely close, and eventually their friendship turned romantic. They went on many dates, she stayed at his home often, They spent holidays together without Brian, and even took a trip to Ireland. According to William, they considered themselves exclusive, despite the small detail that both of them were still married. Naturally, this caused a major strain in Anna and Brian's relationship. Remember, she almost missed Christmas with her sons because she was with William. It was like she was already building a new life, even a new family dynamic.
Contact with her after you sold her the home.
Immediately.
And what was your initial relationship?
We quickly became close friends, then confidants, and before long we started an intimate relationship.
And what do you mean by confidants?
We would share conversations about our lives, what we were going through, personal troubles, those sorts of things.
And you said that your relationship became more, that
Yes.
it became intimate.
It did.
And when did that happen?
Shortly after she moved to Massachusetts, within a few weeks.
Massachusetts?
Sorry, excuse me, Washington, D.C., from Massachusetts to Washington, D.C.
And what was your marital status at that time?
I was separated.
And do you have children, sir?
I do.
Tell me about the types of things that you and Anna did in the course of your relationship.
We would go out to dinner, go to bars. She would accompany me to functions. I have a boat in Annapolis. She would come sailing with me. We did a couple of fitness dates together, see movies, those sorts of things.
You said movies?
Yes.
And you said fitness dates. What do you mean by fitness dates?
Anna was very active physically. Being in shape was very important to her. I hosted an outdoor yoga event, and she had attended on multiple occasions.
When you say Anna was very active, what do you mean by that?
She was very focused on staying in shape, sort of recovering from her multiple pregnancies, getting her figure back. She was really, trying to dial everything in and be as active as possible.
Did she exercise?
She did.
Did you see her exercise?
Yes.
What kind of exercise did she do?
She had a home gym that she worked out in. I believe there was a treadmill and some weights and a small weight bench there, and then the yoga classes we discussed. I also think she may have taken a couple Pilates or other yoga classes on her own.
So how often would you see Anna Walshe in the course of your relationship?
Typically 2 to 3 times a week.
And would you see each other on the weekends?
Yes, when she was in Washington.
And how often would you and Anna communicate once your relationship became intimate?
Pretty much daily.
And how would you and Anna communicate with each other?
Phone calls, text messages, and a private messenger through Instagram. Attempted to apply for a insurance policy, blanket coverage policy for her house, and the company she had reached out to was unwilling to underwrite the policy, and they had disclosed to her that it was because of Brian's history.
What did Anna tell you about how she felt about her children not being with her in D.C.?
Initially, she felt that it was something necessary for her to get through, but as time came on, it became a significant issue for her. It deeply upset her.
Did you tell people about your relationship with Anna?
Yes.
Did you socialize together with any of Anna's friends?
We did not.
Did you socialize with any of your friends?
We did.
Did Anna ever discuss with you telling Brian Walshe about her relationship with you?
Yes. Anna felt it was really important that when Brian was to find out about the relationship, that she would hear it from her. she had expressed great concern, and I think she felt it would be a strike against her integrity if he found out a different way.
So, at some point, did your relationship become more serious?
It did.
When would you say that your relationship became more serious?
In the early to mid-summer, around July.
And how would you describe it?
Anna had traveled to Massachusetts for Brian's sentencing, and the expectation was that she was going to be able to bring the children and him back to Washington, D.C. following a favorable sentencing for his art fraud issues. And that sentencing was delayed because of investigations of
Objection, Your Honor. Yes, sustained.
At that point, were you seeing other people?
Prior to that, yes,
And at that point, did you stop seeing other people?
I did.
And did you begin spending holidays together?
Yes,
And did you spend Thanksgiving together of 2022?
we did.
And what plans did you and Anna have for Thanksgiving of 2022?
We had planned a trip to Dublin, Ireland together.
And when did you get to Dublin?
I believe we left on the 23rd or 24th of November.
Did you fly together to Dublin?
We did,
And how long were you in Dublin?
until the 27th.
And then where did Anna go after Dublin?
She flew to Serbia to see her mother via Paris.
I'm sorry, via Paris, you said?
Yes.
Okay. And where did you go after Dublin?
I returned to Washington.
And did you and Anna have plans for Christmas Eve?
Yes,
And what did you do for Christmas Eve?
we drove out to Annapolis to have dinner with friends of mine.
Now, calling William as a witness might seem strange. After all, it puts Anna in a bad light and exposes choices that clearly weren't great. But, and this is important, the prosecution's goal isn't to make Anna look perfect. It's to give the jury the truth, even the uncomfortable parts. And in many ways, William's testimony helps establish motive and the deteriorating dynamic inside the Walshe marriage. Prosecutors have one big goal here: establish motive. They want the jury to see that Brian had a reason to want Anna gone, and according to the state, this long-term physical-emotional affair she was having with a man in another state, someone she was prioritizing over her marriage, and Williams's testimony hinted at a second motive too. He said that in the months leading up to Anna's disappearance, she spent a huge amount of time decorating her D.C. townhouse. New furniture, kids' toys, kids' beds, everything. She was preparing to bring her sons there and move them away from Brian. So the question becomes, could that have been the breaking point? She was getting ready to start a whole new life with William, children included. Was Brian terrified or angry that someone else was about to step fully into his role? Later in the day, Massachusetts State Trooper Connor Keefe took the stand. He testified that Anna's phone last pinged at a cell tower near the Walshe home around 3 a.m. on January 2, 2023. Yet more proof, another reminder that she absolutely was not on a flight or on her way to D.C. like Brian had claimed. It wasn't just Anna's phone being tracked, though. Troopers were looking at Brian's movements, too. On January 5th, Brian's phone pinged at his mom's apartment, but specifically at the far end of the complex, right next to a massive trash compactor. After that, his phone lit up a string of locations: Lowe's, other hardware stores, and of course that infamous Home Depot trip. And if the Google searches we already knew about weren't unsettling enough, Trooper Keefe testified about 2 more searches: William Fastow and Anna Walshe found dead. Now, under the defense's theory that Brian simply found her dead, those searches might sound explainable, except for one tiny devastating detail. He made those searches on December 25th. That's 6 days before the New Year's Eve dinner, before she disappeared, and long before anyone had reported her missing. Why would someone search their spouse's name alongside found dead before anything had even happened? And why look up William, the boyfriend? Maybe he discovered the affair over the holidays, the exact time when Anna's split holiday schedule had become a point of tension. We don't know for sure, but the timing screams premeditation. We're only 1 week into testimony, but it's already wild. I see this case, and just from the first week we have a bit of an idea of what happened to Anna. I just want her body found so that her sons could get the closure they need. His phone pinging close to his mom's apartment may indicate that her body could be buried there. Maybe, maybe not.
Walshe is dead. Anna Walshe is dead because he murdered her, and he intended her death.
On Thursday, December 11, 2025, the defense rested without presenting any witnesses, ending speculation that Brian might take the stand. Their strategy focused on creating reasonable doubt. They admitted he lied to investigators but argued that he simply panicked after finding Anna unresponsive following a New Year's Eve gathering. With no body recovered, the exact cause of her death remains undetermined. During closing arguments, defense attorney Larry Tipton suggested jurors consider whether an unforeseen medical event could explain Brian's behavior, emphasizing that only a medical examiner, not Brian, would truly understand what happened. He urged the jury not to let the disturbing steps Brian allegedly took afterward overshadow the question of intent, arguing that none of the evidence showed he planned to harm Anna. Prosecutors countered that Brian's conduct pointed directly to premeditation, with surveillance footage of him making multiple purchases at stores including CVS, Walgreens, and Lowe's, items like ammonia, hydrogen peroxide, and other supplies. Investigators also displayed tools that tested positive for blood, including a hatchet and hacksaw. Authorities say Walshe falsely claimed Anna left for Washington, D.C. on New Year's Day for a work emergency, even though there was no record of travel arrangements, and he didn't notify her employer until January 4th. They also linked him to items recovered from a trash facility near his mother's home, including cleaning materials, a Tyvek suit, a Prada purse, boots matching Anna's last known outfit, and her vaccination card. Jurors also heard that Anna had a $2.7 million life insurance policy naming him as the beneficiary. What do you think the verdict will be? And if Brian were to reveal where Anna's remains are, do you believe prosecutors should even consider a deal? Finally, what sentence do you think would be fair in this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.